Okay, let's do another segment here. This is incredible. This is a representative, a UK representative for Juan Guaido, who, you know, I mean, it's hacky at this point, but I'm going to do it anyways. I declare myself mayor of New York City.
I mean, ex-president of Venezuela, now manager of the local Dairy Queen, Juan Guaido.
Right, exactly.
Streamer.
And this is an incredible approach of a propagandist on behalf of somebody that there is a U.S.-backed coup to install. Mehdi Hasan is going to ask her, do you have any concern about the history of U.S. coups and interventions in Latin America? And this is a novel answer that the Juan Guaido representative has. Let's check it out.
How can you believe that a US military intervention will bring democracy or freedom or human rights to Venezuela, especially with people like Elliot Abrams and John Bolton leading the charge, especially given the abysmal history of US interventions in your part of the world, Guatemala, Chile, Argentina, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador? Why on earth would you trust the US military, let alone Donald Trump?
Oh, well, first of all, times have changed. And I think even you know, anybody who has been involved in Latin America since the 1970s, I think, A, the continent has changed. B, you know, the attitude of the United States to the region has changed. C, the understanding of counterinsurgency or counterterrorist or operations or things to secure, you know, safeguard a vulnerable population. All of those parameters and all of those understandings and methodologies have changed.
You say times have changed.
Total new methodology.
And yet the person leading the US position on Venezuela is Elliot Abrams, a man who was deeply involved in war crimes and human rights abuses in Central America during the 80s. You have John Bolton, who said recently, the Monroe Doctrine is alive and well. It's our hemisphere, he said in reference to Latin America. And of course, you have Donald Trump saying Venezuela has all that oil and they're right on our back door. Doesn't seem to have changed at all. They seem to be interested in oil and sending people with a very bad record on human rights to help you.
Hey, I was too young to live through the incident that...
Well, I'm younger than you, but we've all read history. Elliot Abrams was responsible for massive war crimes in El Salvador and elsewhere in the 1980s. He's now the man you trust to bring democracy to Venezuela? Seriously?
We just need to have the humanitarian aid enter, and we need to get foreign terrorist organizations out from terrorizing our own people.
I wouldn't trust Elliot Abrams to deliver a pizza, much less fucking democracy. Though I don't even know.
I just love the way she said. I mean, again, I'm sorry to interrupt the levity, but like, you're talking about literally covering up crimes that, honestly, I mean, really, the stuff in El Salvador that Elliot Abrams was covering up in the 80s. The only thing just in and it feels so weird to even get into like comparison games about like mass murder and genocide, which incidentally he also was involved with the Reagan administration in Guatemala. But like the stuff out of El Salvador that the military did, it could only be analogous to stuff that you would see from ISIS or like the Sinaloa cartel, like throwing a baby in the air, catching it with a bayonet type of stuff. Literally. And she's sitting there like, I mean, Mehdi,
Yeah, Mehdi,
I get that you're a nerd, but
when is,
I don't read like that.
When is Mehdi releasing his Netflix stand-up special?
Yeah, right.
He's killing it there.
He's a great actor.
Mehdi comes out on stage and he's like, how's everybody doing tonight? John Bolton wants a preemptive war with Iran.
Well, I mean, ethnic Laura Loomer was in stitches up there. Like, he had her dying, but like that's the thing, right? I mean, we talked about, you know, these like what's hegemonic and not, but like that shit's on his Wikipedia page. If you look up Elliot Abrams on Wikipedia, it will tell you what you just said, right? Same with the FBI. COINTELPRO is on their Wikipedia page. Right. But like when you have, you know, they call it gaslighting now because it allows for people to sort of not use Marxist words. But like when you have false consciousness in people's heads, it's like that information just goes in one ear and out the fucking other. The idea that America is not this benevolent actor at the global stage has been proven, I guess, proven that it's not true time and time again. But the idea that this might stick in people's heads is entirely fallacious. And the funny thing is, though, if you make this comparison to say, hey, you know what, like compare America to like a white male, right? This infinite allowance of redemption narratives for America and this assumed morality. If it were just like a dude, if it was like a dude who was transgressing on like chicks in the media, there would be an infinite number of articles from like woke liberals about like how shitty Donald Trump is basically. But when you extrapolate that out to the geopolitical level, they just fall for that shit time and time again because it's not aimed at them. Right, like they become encompassed within that sort of power dynamic on that the oppressor. So it's like, oh, well, of course it's not true. But like once you like put it down, like it's a useful heuristic. I don't know if you don't like that word to like map sort of those kind of power dynamics onto like white male versus white female because people understand that very well, at least within our media. And so it's like, hey, America is this bumbling dumbass like dude who at the national level is constantly violating like all of these weaker countries who, a lot of people have, in the history of colonialism, we have feminized them and sort of like the feminization of colonial countries versus like imperialist countries as masculine. It's like that kind of like, if it were at the interpersonal level, people would understand why you can't trust us. But you have people who should know better, who should recognize these patterns.
I don't know about her. She's literally
Well, not
a
her,
representative
but like-
of a
But not her, but you have other people in the media who like, oh, I don't know about Donald Trump, but I think Venezuela needs America's help.
but I don't think. I think that that's true, but I also think it's like, look, the stakes of these situations are totally different.
It's
and
true.
Also what people, and also people's stakes in them. Because one could have a stake in one, situation where, you're on one side of something, and then in another situation you're quite on the, opposite side of it. I also just think it's like, I just have to make it more basic. It's like people run around talking about how horrific, Trump is specifically. He's racist, he's incompetent, he's this and that, which is all true. But then all of a sudden, even within that limitation, they feel comfortable with him going and interfering in Venezuela. That doesn't even require, everything you said is true, but like that's even within its own metric.
Of
People
course.
are not able to follow through on their own thought process.
Yeah, but that's why I made the analogy, right? So like power, so the stakes may be different, but power has the same effect in both scenarios.
Right.
Because you can say in one scenario they don't like Trump because he's this misogynist, racist caricature on the domestic level. But once he becomes the vehicle for America to enact this imperialism abroad, even though the situation is more or less the same,
Right.
Like that the understanding of it shifts so
Right.
so dramatically that it shouldn't be possible, right? Because in one situation, you have Trump as this domestic actor who is the embodiment of all of these forms of bigotry that liberals are theoretically against, even if it's just a language issue, right? But then once you present him as like, hey, he's now the form of all these forms of neoconservative bigotry at the global level. They suddenly find themselves, well, you know what? I'm cool with it.
That's exactly right. You've just watched a Michael Brooks show video, and you can watch all of our full main live shows every Tuesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and subscribe to get all of the clips you want. We're covering the globe. We're focusing on international relations, the intellectual dark web. We're having fun. We're doing deep dives with a lot of amazing guests. Of course, become a patron for the whole thing at patreon.com/TMBS, or subscribe to this YouTube channel and help us keep growing and get that content out there. Subscribe below.